Hi everyone, my name is Vikas and I am working as a senior consultant in Infosys. In today's video tutorial, we will focus on how to automate a process using MuleSoft RPA. Okay. Here is a use case that we will use in this session where a particular company, say company ABC, is getting the invoice attachments or in the emails from a certain company, say XYZ. Okay, so the employee of the company ABC on daily basis open the emails, download the invoice related attachments, read the invoice data, and prepare a SQL query, and then insert that data into the database. This is the activity he's doing on daily basis. Now we will see that how this activity or process can be automated using MuleSoft RPA. Okay, so as you might be aware, this is a MuleSoft RPA lifecycle. Okay, here first we have the evaluate phase where we evaluate whether the effort we are going to put in to automate the process, is it worth to automate that process or not. Okay, uh, then there is a design phase, where we design the process, and the build phase where we build the process, and there is testing, production, and the operation phases. Okay, so I have logged in already into the RPA Manager. This is the RPA Manager, which is a cloud-based application. Okay, and now I go to this first phase is the evaluation. Okay, when we go to this is the process evaluation tab here. Okay, under which we have the let us select as category 1. Press on OK. So now here we want to evaluate, whether is it first to automate the process or not. So for that, we will be putting it how much is the cost, how much is the current process takes when we do it manually. Okay, suppose suppose a person is taking half an hour on daily basis and to get this job done, and his per hour billing rate is $20. So we'll just say 30 minutes per day, and the cost is $10. You can see per month is doing on daily basis, so I can just put it like 22 working days. Category will be defaulted to category 1, that's fine. So now these are qualifiers and the benefits that we defined in the evaluation criteria. So first is nature of work. What is the nature of work? It is a judgment based or a rule based. So the RPA is mostly suited on the rule based work. Okay, so here the person that has been going on or established over the years. What is the data type? Where is the image interpretation or text numbers? It will be text or numbers because he'll be reading the invoice data from the PDFs. Benefits. So now, is it good to automate? Whether what is the urgency of this work? So it is like, okay, good to have. I just put it at the medium size. Complex is a complex work or simple. I'll just put in the medium size here. And what is the risk? So like say the manual tasks are always like prone to errors, right? So yep, there is a risk involved in manual errors in reading the PDF. You might read the wrong data and insert it into wrongly into database. I'll just put there locates a medium risk involved over here. Okay, now you see that this black dot is coming up over here. Qualifier stand as 4.7 and benefit stands at 3. The more the black dot comes into the green zone, okay, it's like more beneficial is to automate this process. Okay, so now I'll just save it. Okay, I'll just go to the one which I just created. Invoice automation process. Okay, so here I have the approval task here. I'll just, as a project manager, I select myself here. Okay, and I just go ahead and approve it. Okay, now I go under my RPA and my backlog. Okay, so here I would see that invoice automation process is over here. So I'll just, it's in the proof state. I'll just start the start automation. Okay, so here okay, process owner, process manager is my name. Required applications of process, I can just say that select one of the applications like Google Chrome. Process team, like whoever wants, who will be the working on this project. Okay, since I'm only working here, so I'll just click on the advanced permissions and just select everything: design, build, release to test, release to production, and production. Okay, we can send an email to all members also when we move from one stage to another. Suppose when we move to design to build, or from build to test, we can send the email notifications as well, so that the team members are informed and they can start working on their respective stages. Okay, so yep, that's it. Just save it. Successfully created. Yep, I want to open the process board. Go to the process. Now we have entered the design phase. Okay, so using the BPMN, which is a business processes modeling and notation, we will be designing the process over here. This is the start and this is the abort task. So we have two types of tasks over here, whether the task to be created by the to be performed by the user or by the bot. So here the user task, here the bot task. So what we will do over here, the first task we will be logging into an email, okay, and download the invoice attachments, invoice PDFs, what I would say. Okay, then I'll just move to the next step. Okay, where what I will do that I will just move the invoice PDF to a central location from where I can read them and extract the relevant data. Okay, so central location. Okay, and then after the invoices are moved, let's just say that read the relevant data from PDF, read over, say that extract the relevant data from PDF, and then as a last step I'll be invoking an API to insert this data into a database. Invoice REST API, insert invoice data to database. I'll just be then ending this process. Okay, also whenever the data is, whenever the it may happen, right, when on particular day there are no invoices. Okay, so in that case I don't want to do all these steps. So what I can do over here, I can just create an exclusive gateway. Okay, uh okay, which will like ensure that okay, when the some invoices are there in the for a particular day in the email, only then these restful steps will be invoked. Otherwise the process will simply end. Okay, so I'll just yep, here it is. Second move to end, and just okay, then I'll just connect these. Just a second. Fine. Okay. So now we have to provide the name of the sequence, also these two routes, which we call as sequence. Just call this sequence number 2, and above we'll call them sequence number 1. Just 1 second. Sequence 1. Okay, fine. So this is ready, and I'll just publish it to the next stage, which is the build stage. Okay. So now I have already installed the RPA Builder on my machine. I just open it. I'll just go to my repository explorer. I'll just refresh it. Invoice automation processes here. Okay, I'll just open it now. Okay, so now the coming on to the first step, which is the email login. So here is this is all the, we call them as workflows. There are different workflows. Okay, so here is the workflow initialization, where we have the activity parameters. Okay, which are which are equivalent to the variables. Okay, we can have the global variables, or activity parameters are referred to the global variables, or we can have the workflow related variables as well. Okay, then we have the transaction, which is a logical set of common transactions, which we can put up in one block. And then we have in the end workflow finalization, whether the workflow has succeeded or failed. Okay, now the first step, we have to log into the email and download the invoice PDF. Okay, so what we will do now, this is a toolbox here. In the toolbox, we will search for the mail session. Okay, so in the mail session, what we have the protocol, encryption, server address, server port, username and password. Okay, so the best practice, we should not put all these values over here, hard code them over here. Instead, we should be defining them or in the variables. Okay, so I'll just define the variables. I'll just use the activity parameters, so that those can be available across all the workflows. Okay, so here is the server name. I'll just go here, activity parameters, add up new parameter, alphanumeric, server name. Okay, the value is this, and then I put a port. Port will be integer. Okay, the value is 993. Okay, and then I'll just put the username and password as well. I'll add a new parameter, which will say that user account variable. Okay, I'll just say that user credits. Okay, so I have this username and password with me. Okay, it is okay, all good. So I'll just go to the mail session. Protocol is fine, IMAP, and we are reading an email from the inbox. Encryption will be SSL TLS. This is a pin symbol we'll use to browse to the activity parameters that we just created. But before we use them, we need to import it into our process, into our workflow. Available parameters are post, port, server name, and user credits. We'll just have everything in our workflow now. Okay, and now if I go to my mail session, So now the encryption is SSL/TLS, and here now I go here to server name. Then I have the port, and then finally I'll be having the user creds. Okay, I'll be only reading the email. Okay, that's it. So now after creating this, establishing this email session, we'll be reading an email as well. So here I go to the reading email. Okay, I'll be using the different box fine is fine. Okay, let's see that. Read emails. Okay, I'll just be filtering on the unread emails. Okay, so that I can go on daily basis, and on the unread emails, for that they can be read. Maximum emails I can say that I can read up to 10 or 20 emails. Save attachment, yes. Where do I want to save the attachment? I'll just mention that. D drive RPA mails. But as a best practice, make sure you put this directory paths under the variables. These are the workflow based variables or in the activity parameters. Okay, create directory present exist, that's fine. Okay, save attachments. Okay, I think yep, we should be good. Okay, so now let's try to run this workflow and see if it's able to download the attachments. So if you can see over here in the email, I have these two emails marked as unread. So let's try to run this workflow. The attachments should be coming up in this folder. Okay, so they see both the attachments have come over here. Okay, so now as a next step, we have to ensure that we count the emails. Okay, and if only if the email count is more than 0, we proceed to next steps. Otherwise, we'll just end the process over here. Okay, so now what I will do, I'll just create another activity parameter and just go to this and create a new variable, integer one, which I'll say that email count. Okay, I'll just go to the activity parameters and have this variable used in this workflow. It's okay, and then I'll be using set variable. Okay, after this, when the session ends, and click on this pin, variable will be email count. Okay, and I will be setting it to the value of mail count. Okay, from the previous step. And now if I go to the exclusive gateway, I'll just build one condition over here, add expression, activity parameter is email count. Okay, when it is equal to, I could say that it's not equal to 0, it will proceed to the sequence 1, and when it is equal to 0, then we'll just end the process. Okay, all good. Now we move to the next step, which is the moving the invoices to a central location. Okay, so we have this all the invoices coming over here, but you see that whenever we download attachment, we have multiple folders created each time. So it's better for a cleaner process, just move them to a central location like this RP attachments. Okay, so what I will do that, just since there are multiple files, I'll just use the iterate over files operation here. Okay, and I'll just path or directory, just keep this drive, and file name is fine. Recursive loop will be there. All good. Okay, and then I'll just use the move file operation to move the file to the attachment folder. Okay, directory path is from here, iterate to files, iterate path. File name will be file name, and destination directory would be this. Okay, all good. Let's try to run this now. Okay. Oh, I'll be iterating over the mails folder, not the attachments. Attachment is destination one. Let's just this here. Now I will just run it. Okay, now if see now it is succeeded, and we can see here also. Okay, that the tradable files found the two files, and those were successfully moved. Okay, so now comes the third step, which is extracting the data from these PDFs basically. Okay, so now since we have be having multiple files again in this attachments folder, so we'll be using the iterate over files operation. Okay, and we'll be using the AWS ERP talks with AWS document processing operation to extract the data from the PDF. So ERP talks with AWS invokes the extract service of AWS, okay, to extract the relevant data from the PDF. We'll see how. Okay. So I'll just iterate over files and just give this is the directory path, file name, that's fine, start of star. Okay, ARP docs. So we will need the AWS credentials to be put to connect to the our AWS account. So I have already those credentials with me. So I have created a free tier account where I enter the user groups. I have created a user RPA test, and I have created the client ID and a secret over here. Okay, so I'll just put that in the RPA builder. I'll just go to the activity parameters. Okay, add a new parameter. You will see over here add AWS credentials. So I'll just put here AWS threads. Okay, so these credentials will be used to invoke the extract service of AWS. I'll just put the endpoint region for this AWS region US East. Okay, okay, and here in the activity parameters, I'll just use this AWS creds. Press OK. Now, just open it. AWS credentials will be this. Okay, directory path. What I have got from my iterate over files, and file name will be iterate file name. Okay. Okay, PDF is not password protected, and we have to read the entire file. Okay, just press it. Okay, so I'll just show you what is the output of this ARP talks with AWS looks like. Okay, I can just do one write to file operation over here. Okay, just inside it. Okay, so what I can do that I can just provide this path. Okay, and this is the file name. Just try test.txt. What text to write? I'll just write the output that we have got from ERP talks with AWS. I'll be writing the normalized JSON. Okay, the data file doesn't exist. Okay, and let's try to run it. See, the test file is created, and it is having all the data extracted from our two invoice PDFs. Okay, so now we will be using the JSON query to extract the data. Okay, and prepare our input for our next process will be the which is to invoke the API to insert this invoice data into database. Okay, so what I will do over here, I'll just do a JSON query. Okay, so in this JSON query, just see that okay, we are first extracting invoice ID. JSON object will be normalized JSON. Okay, and JSON expression will be this. Okay, so if I open this, the file which we created, invoice receipt ID. The type is this, and this is the value which we're going to fetch using this JSON query expression. And then I'll just be write this to a variable. Okay, so just invoice. A variable value will be of this JSON query first item. Okay. So then I have to extract the date as well. So I'll just use JSON query again. Okay, to get the invoice date, I'll be working on the same normalized JSON. Okay, and I'll be using this invoice date, the JSON query. Okay, just using one more variable to store the value of this invoice date. Okay, here is this invoice date, first item. Okay. Okay, so now we'll have this value stored in the variable, and now what I will do, I'll be combining these values of these variables to form this input request for the REST API the next time. Okay, so for this we have to get the output input to this REST API in this format. Okay, order number and then order date. Okay, so what we will do, just use a combine strings over here. Okay, and then I'll just use this pin over here. So we'll use this variable one uh, replaced by invoice ID. Okay, and two replaced by invoice date. Okay, and I form a pattern using 1 and 2 here. So like this, order 1 will be replaced by then invoice ID, order date, and 2 will be replaced by the invoice date. Okay, I'll just copy it over here. This is the pattern we generated. Okay, now what I will do, then I'll just write all the cumulative output into a file. Okay, because if I use a variable, it will be overwritten. Okay, so I'll just, to avoid that, I have to write it into a file. Okay. So I just create one file. Okay, so this is a file, and just a file name. I can see that input to API .txt. What is the text to write? It is a combined strings. Okay, yep, all good. Add a new file. Okay, create a file if it does not exist. Okay, press okay. So now whatever we have written into a file, we just write it into a variable and then pass this variable as an input over REST API. Okay, so I just create one variable. Okay, first I'll just create that variable in the activity parameters. Okay, add the alphanumeric variable. Scroll down. API where I can say okay, it's okay. On the activity parameters, I'll just use that over here, and then I'll just use the set variable, which will be outside the iterate files, because now we have iterated over all the files, accumulated all the data into a text file, Okay, but before writing, we cannot directly just select the right file and write into variable. We have to first read the file that we have written, and then the output of that read file we can write into a variable. Okay, first we will use a read file over here. Read from the text file. Okay, so what we need to read to this text to write. Okay, and what is the file name? That is also we get from here itself. Read the entire file. Okay. Okay, now we have to just do one more formatting using the strings uh, string operation. Okay, before we write into a final variable. Okay, so what I will do, that string operation is like remove the last character of the string. So we have to just we can get the read file output, read text, and then we have to remove an extra comma that will come at the end, because when we are accumulating all the outputs, okay, for all the files, suppose the first file comes like this and second file and the third file, when it comes into a text file, it will be having this extra comma. So I have to remove it so that we can prepare the exact input needed by the REST API. So now the set variable, just click on this pin. Okay, the variable will be input API var, and it will be having the value of the string operation. Okay, fine. So now we move to the last step, which is invoking the REST API. The activity parameters will just have this input API var. Okay, and in the transaction I'll just have the REST API. Okay, and in the REST API, I'll just use a post method. I have already have an API which is deployed on Cloud Hub, so I'll just invoke that API. This is only started phase. Okay, so this is the API URL. So I'll just paste the base URL here and the URI extension over here. Okay, so I'll just prepare the body. Okay, so to prepare the body, we have to again uses which will be replaced by the variable. Okay, I'll just go inside it now, form the body. So it's like this a. So now a will be replaced by the variable that we have prepared in the previous step. Okay, all good. So now after the REST call is made successfully, we have to make sure that like that attachments which are processed, those are moved to the archive folder. So what I will do, that I will just use iterate once again. Okay, and iterate over the attachments. Okay, and just move the files to the archive folder. I just use the move. Okay, so iterate over files. This is a directory path. This is a file name. Destination directory will be this output, and we'll be deleting that file also. Okay, which we created in the previous step to have the cumulative output of all the files of all the PDF files basically. Okay. I'll just be removing that file as well. Delete. Let me see what was the file name. 1 second. This is a write to text file input to API.text. And as a best practice, just make sure that all these directory paths and directory file names are in the either in the workflow based variables or in the activity parameters. Okay. path. Okay, fine. I think we should be good to run our process. So what I will do that I'll just mark those emails again as unread. Okay, and I'll just remove the attachment from here and remove the mail also from here. I'll just remove this file also. Okay, let's try to run it now. Started, we'll be seeing the attachments coming into this mails folder. Yep, those are there. The first step is completed. Now we'll be having those PDFs moved to attachment folder. So that is also completed. As a third step, now we'll be preparing the input to the REST API and extracting the data from the PDF. So input to API is also prepared. Now the fourth step for the invoking the REST API is going on. Yep, that also succeeded. Okay, in the end we'll see the PDFs move to the archive folder. Yep, so those are come over here. Now the complete process is successful. Okay, all the steps, starting from event login, moving the invoices to center location, extracting the data, and invoking the REST API to insert the data into database. I'll just go to the database also and check this. Let's start from the orders table. We'll see the two records inserted over here. Okay, so yeah, so that's pretty much, guys, I wanted to cover in this session. So to summarize, in this session we covered the evaluate, design, and the build phase of the MuleSoft RPA. Okay, thank you so much for your time, guys, and have a good day. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.